Hi friends, what are the best guns in Apex Legends Season 18? Today, I'm going to rank every weapon in Apex Legends so you can find out the answer to that question. This will be kind of a weapons tier list, but I'm going to do it by weapon category. And also, this video is going to be purely based on actual statistics, because I know a lot of those tier list videos out there from other YouTubers are normally based on personal opinions. So I thought, instead, let me use the actual statistics for the weapons to help you decide what are the best weapons in the game. Let's start by ranking the SMGs. I've pulled together the key stats for each SMG in Apex Legends Season 18. Now let me just explain what I mean by each of these categories, and I use these across each of the weapon categories as well. Starting with the mag size, by this I mean the base magazine size for each of the weapons before any extended mag is added. For the SMGs you can see the car, the Vault and the alternator all have equal mag sizes at 19, while the R99 is a little bit smaller. The RPM stands for rounds per minute, and this is essentially your fire rate. From this, you can see the R99 is still the fastest gun in the game. The DPS stands for damage per second, and you can see again the R99 is the best in this category out of the SMGs. In fact, the R99 is actually the best for this category in the whole game. TTK stands for time to kill, and this is how fast you can kill someone. Again, the R99 is top of the stats for the SMGs here. Below that you can see damage per bullet. Now this is how much damage you can deal with one bullet to the body, not considering fortified. The alternator is actually the highest one out of the SMGs for this, which might surprise you. Finally, damage per mag is essentially the maximum amount of damage you can do with one base magazine for each of these weapons. Again, you can see the alternator there is top of the list for the SMGs. In this view, I've now highlighted which weapon is top for each of these categories, and you can see how this looks across the SMGs. You can also see at the bottom there I've added a score row. I basically weighted each placement for each statistic for each weapon in this category, and it's the same for every category that we'll look at in this video. And with that weighting it adds up to this score, and this now allows you to compare the weapons in the entire category. And using this score with what you know now, you can see the R99 and the car have the joint highest scores in the SMGs at 23, which essentially suggests that these are the two best weapons statistically in the SMG category in Apex Legends. The Vault is in second place, and then it's the alternator. Now my personal preference is the car if you're interested, and that's just because even though it's slightly lower than the R99 in terms of speed, it does hold more bullets and it does a little bit more damage per bullet, meaning it's a little bit more forgiving if you miss a shot or two, like most of us do. So that rounds out the SMG category. You've got an idea of what the best SMGs are statistically. Let's move on to the assault rifles. I've highlighted the boxes in red straight away here, and clearly you can see the Havoc covers the most categories being top in each of the stats, which I found quite interesting. If I'm being honest, when I was putting together the stats for this video, I kind of thought the Nemesis would be top, but it turns out the Nemesis is in second place, and then that's followed by the Flatline in third place, and then the Hemlock and R301 in joint last place. From a personal point of view, I don't actually use the Havoc, even though the stats here are clearly showing it's the strongest weapon. The main reason I don't use it is because of that wind-up time, which obviously these stats don't take into account, and without a turbocharger, that longer wind-up time against a faster weapon can get you killed. My personal recommendation is actually the Hemlock. It's incredibly strong, and you might find a lot of people using it, and it's very fast becoming one of the meta weapons in Season 18. And I think the main reason behind that is because of that high damage per bullet, which is the very stat that it's top for in this list, which you can see. And don't forget, you also multiply that stat by 3 because it's a burst weapon, and that means in one shot you can deal significantly more damage than any other of the assault rifles. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to say, of course out of any of these categories in this video, there will be an element of your own personal preference to come into it, and what you can do with this video is use the statistics that I'm showing you and relate that to how your own personal playstyle is. For example, the R301, even though statistically in this list isn't the best, it does have a really easy to control recoil and a fast fire rate, which means it's really great for newcomers but also more aggressive players. If you're the kind of guy that likes to get up in people's faces, a faster weapon like the R301 is potentially going to be better for you. Let's move on to shotguns next. There is a bit of a shotgun meta in Season 18 thanks to the buffs across the board, and you can kind of see that in this table. You'll notice the EVA rate is top for most of the shotgun stats in Season 18, while the Peacekeeper also holds the top 2, mainly for those damage focused statistics. Interestingly, when you add up these scores, you can see the EVA rate does come out top as well, on 26, but then the other shotguns are all level at 20. I think this essentially means that the shotgun category is fairly balanced statistically, and some of you might agree with that if you are shotgun users, because they feel pretty good this season. I should throw in the dependency though, that these statistics are obviously based on you hitting a full shot with all the pellets, but we know with shotguns in Apex Legends, there are plenty of occasions where we hit those 1 or 2 pellets, and that's when we get those infamous 9s with the Peacekeeper, for example. If you want to know my personal preference, I'm really liking the Peacekeeper this season, and that's without the Disruptor rounds. When you throw those in there, you can see how much extra damage it does, and it's a beast of a weapon if you can hit your shots. So those are the shotguns. Let's move on to the Marksman category. You can see the G7 tops most of the stats here, with the triple take also taking a couple for the damage per bullet and damage per mag. In terms of scoring, this translates to the G7 obviously being the top marksman with the highest score, followed by the triple take and 30-30 in joint second. One thing I will say is that I am seeing a lot more people use the 30-30 repeated this season, and even though statistically it isn't number 1, it's still pretty close to its counterparts, and I feel like people like that it's kind of in between the speed of the G7 and the power of the triple take, and it seems like they like that balance in the middle there. So that's the marksman category. Let's move on to the snipers. We've got the sentinel, the charge rifle and the longbow. And you can see from these stats, the longbow's top in most of the categories, with only 1 going to the charge rifle. Scores wise, this translates to obviously the longbow being the top sniper, and then the charge rifle in second, with the sentinel in third, which did kind of surprise me because I always thought the sentinel was a lot more powerful than the other 2 weapons. Although having said that, this is the base sentinel and not the charged version. Again, going to my personal preference, it kind of disagrees with the stats again, because my personal preference is actually the sentinel, and that's just because of the way it fires. I feel like my shots are a lot cleaner and smoother when I'm using the sentinel. Moving on to the penultimate category, the LMGs. This one's an interesting one. The Devotion tops the first 3 statistics. The Spitfire is then the best for TTK, and then the Rampage is the best for the damage stats. This turns into the Spitfire being top scores wise, with the Devotion in second and Rampage in third. This is mainly the case because the Spitfire is consistently second, even though the Devotion and Rampage are top for more of the stats. Overall though, if you look at it together, I think the LMGs are fairly close together, and you can see that from the scoring and even the statistics themselves. I'm not a big LMG user. I guess if I had to choose, I'd probably choose the Spitfire or the Rampage over the Devotion. Finally, let's move on to the last category, the pistols. The Wingman and the RE45 you can see cover half the stats at the top here, and unsurprisingly, the P2020 isn't top for any of these stats. But when you translate that into scoring, the RE45 does come out on top, but interestingly the Wingman and P2020 are joint in second place. Bear in mind this is without hammer points by the way. And there you have it, that's a ranking of every weapon based on their category in Apex Legends Season 18, all based on the factual stats from the game. But you also heard my own little opinion on which ones I prefer to use, if that helps you out as well. And before you ask, I didn't include any care package weapons simply because they're all really strong this season, and because they're boosted as care package weapons, I didn't think it was fair to compare them to their counterparts in each of these categories. But if that's something you're interested in, then next time I can definitely include it. Hopefully this will help you understand the weapon meta better in Season 18 and help you decide which weapon statistically might suit your playstyle. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.